Okay, sometimes the public statement that made is not by our own. Okay, sometimes people make the statement about us, or maybe we engage in some kind of advertisement by others. So there is a standard 5.02. In these standards, it talks specifically on the requirement of statements by others regarding ourselves or our services. So under this statement 5.02, statements made by others, there are three substandards. Okay, 5.02a, psychologists retain professional responsibilities. 5.02b, psychologists do not pay for news. Okay, remember it's news, it's not about advertisement. And 5.02c, psychologists disclose paid advertisement. Okay, you have to differentiate between 5.02b and c. Okay, it's between news and advertisement. Okay, let's look in details 5.02a. Psychologists retain professional responsibilities. So basically, the whole of these standards explain that we are responsible for how people talk about us, for how people speak or how people write about us. So this basically ensure that an ethical person, ethical psychologist must make sure that whatever people write, whatever people talk, communicate about us is the truth, okay, is the correct representation of ourselves. We have to treat them professionally. Okay, so basically this standard, even when someone else, okay, even a third party, journalists, bloggers, now we have influencers, talk or create message about us, we must make sure that it is honest, it is ethical, and is clearly presented as, okay, not over exaggerated, okay, not over claim, not making false statement, and etc. So it must be mentioned as it is. So 5.02a, psychologists who engage others, okay, regardless whether it's news or whether it's advertisement agency, or now we have influencer and etc. So psychologists who engage others to create or place public statements, okay, that promote our work, okay, that promote our professional practice, product or activities, retain professional responsibility for such statements. So in other words, if we engage others to create, okay, statement about ourselves, it could be advertisement, could be testimonials, okay, could be review, okay, we must make sure that we retain professional responsibility about our qualification, about our training, about our experience, expertise, credential, and etc. Okay, the one that we mentioned in 5.0, 5.01. So this means that if we ask, or even if we allow other people to promote our work, so we is the one who responsible, who are ethically responsible for what is the content, okay, what is said about us, okay, whether it's advertisers, whether it's public relation staff, whether it's website designers, whether it's a podcast. Okay, nowadays people watch podcast, there are a lot of content about podcast, whether it's being mentioned by influencers, okay, all of that basically still under our responsibility. Okay, as psychologists, we have to make sure that if people make statement about us, we check the statement are accurate, okay, and they are not misleading. I still remember when I was doing my masters at that time, doing master in psychology, and then I was invited to give a talk, okay, by a student association. So this student contacted me and mentioned about this topic, and then I think that I can talk about the topic. It's not about technical, it's more of motivational. But then they create a poster. Okay, at that particular time, social media is not really pertinent as it is now. But they posted this poster in Facebook. Okay, what happened was my supervisor was friend of my Facebook, and this organizer, they tagged me. Okay, they tagged me in the posters. So they have never asked me to check about the accuracy of the posters. So what happened was they put under my name, okay, my name, and then my bachelor's degree, and then they put it master IO psychologist. So when you put an IO psychologist there, while I still at that time is doing masters, I'm not yet qualified as IO psychologist. So my supervisors basically told me that I should not allow that. I should make or I should contact the organizer to make the correction. Future psychologists maybe, he said, in a more humor manner. So it's to say that to that extent, we have to ensure that people make a statement ourselves accurately. Okay, so we have to check the statement. And sometimes people make this, like my case just now, people make statements and then I do not know about that, then I know after they already made the statement. So in that case, it still does not release us from the responsibility. So what we need to do is we need to correct, or we need to stop the false claim or the exaggeration made about us, and etc. So why this is important? Okay, this is pertinent in our profession because we, like I mentioned just now, we cannot avoid from being responsible of what people say about us. Okay, we cannot simply say that, oh, I do not know, someone else wrote about it. Okay, now you know, so you have to correct them. So ethical responsibility in this scenario is still remains with us, okay, the psychologist. Okay, it's not about the organizer and etc. Yes, we can, if say for example you already make an effort, contacted them, ask them to correct the affiliations, correct the credential, etc., and they have not done that, so at least you have done your part. If it's involved like public safety and etc., so maybe you can go even further to make a police report. Okay, so that is 5.01a. Okay, whether that about that we as psychologists retain the responsibility of public statement made by others on ourselves. So 5.02b, psychologists do not compensate. Okay, I repeat, we do not compensate employees of press, radio, televisions, or other communication media in return for publicity in a news item. Okay, this is not about advertisement, it's about news. So this substandard 5.02b should be read together with standard 1.01. Okay, if you recall, misuse of psychologists work. So what does this standard means? So it means that no payment for news publicity. Okay, we should not make payment. Okay, this means that we must not pay journalists, we must not pay media staff, okay, to make news stories about us. Okay, the news must be neutral. It should not be influenced, or it should not be directed, or it should not be manipulated by us psychologists. So the requirement for this, to avoid paying for news, okay, we should not give any money, okay, any form of compensation. It could be money, could be gifts, or even favor in exchange for news coverage. Okay, sometimes people do make documentary, for example, so let it be a neutral, okay, rather than you force the issue to promote your company or your organization, for example. Okay, another thing that we can do to avoid this kind of things, all news items must remain independent, okay, and unbiased. Okay, I know that after COVID-19, there are more awareness about mental health. So I saw, I didn't remember which channel, but people are talking about speech therapy. Okay, it was very interesting because when I watch it, this teenage boy, okay, it's a teenage boy, it's a secondary school children. He is a he, but he has a voice of a female singer. In particular, the most famous singer in Malaysia. Okay, you can search it in the YouTube. Okay, I still believe that the footage are still there. So this boy was viral, was famous because he can sing Siti Nurhaliza's song with the exact voice of Siti Nurhaliza, but he's a boy. Okay, he's a boy. And then they make a documentary about this boy, and this boy turns out to have some kind of condition. Okay, his speech, I don't know what is the scientific name of it. Okay, his tone, his speech mechanics is basically in some kind of abnormality. But okay, what I'm trying to say here, speech therapists can basically remedy that. Okay, they can teach this boy on how to project his male voice in that sense. Okay, but he can still sing, he can still use that voice, but there is a technique to that that he can basically in public, among others, show the other form of voice. Because while growing up, before he was viral, he was kind of bullied. Okay, because some say that he has two genders and etc. Okay, so it's a big help. So in a way, it was a good documentary, but in a way, it does promote about the speech therapists. Okay, it does promote about the institutions that the speech therapists represent. But that happened naturally. Okay, that happened independently and unbiased. It's not that this company approached the TV producers to make those kind of documentaries. In that case, it's okay. Okay, we do not do advertisements, but instead it's a documentary happen naturally. So why this is important? This is important because paying for news, okay, for news coverage, makes the information look objective, look factual. Okay, so people tend to believe news more than advertisement. So if we pay, so the viewers, the public, may think that it's actually a fact. Well, in fact, it's just an advertisement, it's just a promotion. So if this happen, then we should not be paying for news advertisement or news publicity. So in this case, if we pay and people misunderstood it as a news, it will mislead them in their decision about their mental health treatment, intervention, or any kind of activities. Okay, so 5 that is for psychologists do not pay for news. 5.02b. For 5.02c, a paid advertisement relating to psychologist activities must be identified or clearly recognizable as such. Okay, 5.02b, so we should not pay for news. Okay, we should not make journalists create a news about our company, about our service, about our expertise, etc. But 5.02c, if say for example that our organization want to promote our consultants company, our organization, our service, we can still do so. However, with the conditions that we have to make sure that public understand it is a paid advertisement, it's a paid promotion. Okay, it's not a news. Okay, because of why paid advertisement must be clear for the public. Okay, if we pay for advertisement for promotion, it must be clearly labeled or easy to recognize as an advertisement. Okay, what can we do? So the advertisement should not look like a neutral news, okay, or education. Okay, it must be labeled. People must understand it is an advertisement. Okay, if you still watch news, okay, mainstream TV news, for example, you will know that nowadays, because from advertisement pay for whatever programs in the TV, so they try to make it as engaging as possible, to the extent that while they are telling us or sharing about the news, so they will also include about the benefits of a certain product. For example, they put on their products on the table or on the station of the news anchor or on the journalist notebook or whatsoever. So those kind of things should not happen for psychologists. Okay, why people may misunderstood is actually advertisement. So don't include it during news. What more, nowadays people are very much involved in podcasts. Okay, I watch podcasts, especially sport podcasts, and I know that recently there are a lot of podcasts, politics, economics, social, a lot of podcasts. So sometimes you will recognize that a responsible influencer, content creator, they will mention that this session is sponsored by certain company. Okay, so you know that the whole of that segment, for example, is basically a paid advertisement. Okay, so they use term as sponsored. Okay, sometime while they are talking and then they include in, okay, the promotion, some kind of promotion for products. Okay, those kind of things are still allowed, but it must make sure that it does not look neutral like a news. Okay, and the audience must know it is a paid promotion rather than news. Why this is important? In our profession, clear labeling, okay, clear recognition as advertisement, okay, help our publics, our people, our potential clients to properly evaluate that this is news, this is fact, this is event, rather than this is promotion, this is advertisement about service. Okay, they can make a judgment, okay, about information fairly, independently, unbiased, and uninfluenced by other factors. And this will prevent hidden persuasion by certain segment of people. It could be us, okay, it could be other entities. Okay, the key ethical principle, okay, behind this standard 5.02. So basically, this standard protects public trust. Okay, it protects people trust on our profession. It protects our professionalisms. So it protects our integrity. So public trust in here ensure that all kind of news advertisement happens transparently, okay, honestly, and with accountable, okay, especially when we communicate about our service and we try to promote our activities, okay, in a way that we conduct our communication professionally.